Be out your time. We seen page 8 about the sons and daughters of the Creator. Now, I'm coming from theology of time. This is another. I could go different places, but I'm just giving you some basic information so that you know that I'm not lying or making this stuff up. He says, and I quote him again, "You are the sons and daughters of gods." I know our ancestors in ancient Kemet, Egypt, Black Egypt, and Nubia, the Sudan, and Kush, Ethiopia, and Azania, South Africa. They like, y'all finally waking up. Y'all heard all this stuff from these Eurocentric so-called scholars, you know what I mean, about Usar and Aset, and you know what I mean, so-called Isis, the goddess Hathor, and you know what I mean, and the Nation of Islam. I remember, it's like it's in the early 80s sometime, but I remember Sister Minister Ava Muhammad wrote an article titled "Set at Liberty the Catholic Believer." Touch my heart. I'm like, who is this sister? Whoa! Then I'm reading the final call, and Mother Tanetta Muhammad said, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told her that the only thing in our flag that's going to change is it's going to take on another moon. And under the article, the number 19, she had the two crescents of Al-Qamar, or Badr as the Quran calls it. And I was like, don't sleep on these sisters. These sisters is giving us they giving us revelation. I mean, they dropping some raw jewels themselves. You know what I mean? You know, so you got to give credit where credit is due. But of course, when we bring the male chauvinism in, they like, oh, what? Mr. Farrakhan made Sister Ava Muhammad the national what? Who? Huh? You know what I mean? Envy and jealousy. Brother Minister Jabril Muhammad Bernal Kushmir explained so eloquently one time how you can draw a happy face, a sad face, an angry face, a drunk face, whatever. But you can't draw a picture of a jealous face or an envious face. Because envy and jealousy has no expression. They'll smile in your face, backstabbers. You know how people be, two-faced. You know what I mean? So a lot of times we are bringing satanic 10% bullcrap into the cipher of the 5%. We're tracking mud into the house of God when we bring that spooky stuff in here. We don't look down on a black woman. You know what I mean? That's pathetic. The messenger says, "You are the sons and daughters of gods of your kind, who rules the whole earth." Now, keep in mind, the messenger also teaches us all his followers are ministers. So don't get spooky or caught up on titles and big eyes and little U's. I mean, we're all brothers and sisters in the struggle. You know what I mean? It's like they may know your name today. They might remember your name 100 years from now. They're not going to know you a billion years from now. Ain't nobody going to know you a trillion years from now. But you know what name is going to remain? Allah. But it's not going to be called Allah like we're saying Allah. See, that's where we get spooky. And that's where we go into that Salaam Allah. I mean, we think that we live in a static truth. We live in a truth that's a lake instead of an ever-moving river. I mean, that water stops and it's going to seek its own level. It gets stale, turns into poison. It becomes toxic if it's not moved. It got to keep moving. It got to be renewed. It has to be Al-Jadi Islam. It has to be a new Islam. Otherwise, the Islam becomes poisonous. It becomes a dead letter religion. I mean, and we have to understand that science. So the messenger says, "You are the sons and daughters of gods of your kind, who rules the whole earth. They can take the earth and move it off from its regular rotation and turn it backwards if they." Who's this they talking about? Here they said, the sons and daughters of God. The mighty, mighty FOY&MGT. If you don't know, now you know. They could turn it backwards if they wanted, and you won't ever know the difference. To prove it, whatever goes on in the way of a terrific explosions in China or in Vietnam, you don't feel it here, do you? No, it's because the earth is so large that you can cut away half of it on the other side and you'll never feel it. That's beautiful physically as well as symbolically or spiritually. You know what I mean? You can't take away half the nature of the original man. You can't take the womb of man away and expect to be balanced. You know what I mean? It don't go like that. You know what I mean? So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he tells us in his last book, this is like real raggedy, 1974. This particular book, shout out to my beloved aunt, my aunt Ola Hassan, my cousin Wadia, you know what I mean, whom I love. My cousin Wadia Hassan was actually, when I was a Baptist mentally dead child, she's the one that brought Islam first to my branch of the family, my mother's side of the family. You know what I mean? She the one that actually convinced my aunt Ola and her sister, and her little sister Dyer and my cousin Yasmin, and you know what I mean, to accept. They that's how I knew them. I knew them, you know. My uncle, FOI, my uncle Poozy gave me the name Isha before I was born. That was my middle name, Isha. My family, all my cousins, my grandmother, my father, my mother, my sisters, my cousin, my uncles, they all call me Isha. You know what I mean? Isha means the last prayer, the end of prayer, the night prayer. You know what I mean? But that Islam that was spoon-fed into my spiritual psychic really has its origin with my cousin Wadia. You know what I mean? She's we had some strong matriarchs, some strong women in my side of the family. My mother was one of them bold North Philly to the core, hardcore. She was not weak by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, you know, was not weak. I wish she was weak, but she just wasn't. She just wasn't the type to put up with stuff. I mean, her thing was like, she ain't with, and stuff she said, she don't even realize she's dead now physically, you know, but she lives within me. You know what I mean? Her DNA in me, so she's still here as far as I don't believe in death like the spooky people. You know what I mean? I don't believe in birth like spooky people. You know what I mean? So she's just a thought away. You know what I mean? My aunt Ola Hassan is just a thought away. My uncle Poozy is just a thought away. My father's just a thought away. You know what I mean? But I remember her telling me, because she wasn't tight. She was like, she ain't going to church, she ain't going to the temple, she ain't going to the masjid. No, my dad surprised me. When I was in the belly of the beast, I call myself, you know, when you get knowledge of self, you just want to teach everybody. You know what I mean? I'm coming at him with Yakub history, Malcolm X, and he wrote me a real deep letter. I remember he just basically, but he shut me down by explaining to me. He said, you studying Malcolm X. He said, I studied with Malcolm X. I personally was with the man. I'm like, huh? That was drinking the Thunderbird, smoked Winston's, was breaking bricks with his band, the Iceman from North Philly. You know what I mean? So the whole North Philly had knowledge of self. That don't mean they, you know, a lot of our people don't want the moral code that goes along with it. You know, a lot of people, you know, they ain't trying to stop smoking that weed. They, no, we ain't giving up the weed, Elijah. I mean, they ain't giving up the liquor. They ain't giving up the adultery and fornication. But they not saying what you saying is false. They just ain't ready for all that. I mean, they was honest with themselves, but they respected the Nation of Islam. You know what I mean? The brothers and the sisters. You know what I mean? I remember my aunt Ola Hassan, my cousin Wadia, you know. I remember them coming out with their garbs on, going to temple service, and I'm just sitting on the step just looking at them like, dang, you look like angels of heaven. I mean, I wasn't going to church. My mom wasn't taking me to church. She wasn't taking me to the temple and the mosque. And now, man, you know, I eventually went to the temple one or two times under compulsion. The law don't, you know, believe in forced faith and nothing. But the mighty FOIs, they were men's men. And when we out there acting stupid, gang war down North Philly, they took us to the temple. We ain't had no choice. When the brothers came, we was scared. We respected them brothers. You know what I mean? Nowadays, you know, 85% is real disrespectful. You know what I mean? They say anything, talk out the side. You know, it's social media. You can say anything online. You know what I mean? Not back then. When I was in the belly of the beast, if you slandered Minister Farrakhan, I can honestly say you might get away with your life. You might. But we're going to try to get you. Trust me. It was no joke. Anybody that know me, know the brothers I soldier with, my minister in the penitentiary was named Wooly 30X Clayton. Supreme Minister Salaam Sedan, the head of the BMC. You talk about Master Farah Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Minister Farrakhan, Jeremiah Shabazz, Salas Muhammad, Ava Muhammad, Tanetta Muhammad, Claire Muhammad. The penalty was death. Just like that. That thing was, we there. What you, yeah. We come in Jumar. We'll go in the yard. Now, I mean, our mentality was, hold on, how many of them? Oh, it's 10. Okay. I'm going to go out there by myself and handle that. That was the mentality of the FOI and MGT. So y'all should be thankful for something that came out around 1983. I'll never forget it. It was the meaning of FOI. There was a polarity shift. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan dropped that little jewel. It was like a little atom. Boom! Bright, like, oh! Whoa! Oh, the truth hurts. It hurts the guilty. We had to submit. We had to bow like that. You know what I mean? But he didn't take all that energy away. You can't turn mountain lions into pussycats. It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? And you can't turn pussycats into mountain lions. It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? But, you know, that's another thing. You know what I mean? But the message it says, and I'll say this a ride. This is the reason I brought that up, because this actual book was given to me from my aunt, Ola Hassan, who, you know, she was in the nation before I was born in 1965. I'm 57. She was soldier before I was physically born. I mean, my cousin right there, she's older than me. She looked younger than me, but she's older than me. Love her to death. Shout out. But my aunt gave me a bunch of literature because she was like, "You're crazy behind the soldier and wrong. What is y'all like the black mafia? The nation ain't a gang." I mean, I'm from North Philly, so I got a gang mentality. I'm 17. Yeah, I'm like, I still had NP North Philly on my T-shirt. I mean, so I'm like, 1 foot in heaven, 1 foot in hell. I mean, 1 foot in the sand, 1 foot in the ocean, as they say. You know what I mean? But you know, I was thankful that she sent me all that literature. And another thing that was real important, and I want the scholars and historians to understand, because it has not been mine property, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, say you went somewhere and you ain't had no money, but you was like, oh, let me go dig around it. I know some gold coins. There's some gold nuggets around in here. There's some diamonds in this dirt over here. Some pure silver around here. And you get a little gold, little diamonds, and you just leave. And you're like, okay, damn, okay, I can pay my bills and I'm good. But really, you're supposed to be like, oh, it's gold over them there hills. I say that because I talked to some old men that been in prison 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And I sat on the floor as they went through their trunks and boxes, all kind of junk in there. You know what I mean? Some of them real neat, some of them raggedy, some mixed up with all kind of stuff. And what they had was they would tell me different little stories. I mean, so I'm just like a sponge. Because I'm the young boy. I mean, me and brother Kareem Allah, I mean, Troy X David, we're the young fruit. We're the first juveniles in these big adult camps. You know what I mean? So I'm soaking it up. Like, yo, I'm getting game. You know what I mean? I'm learning these Jews like Master Muhammad, learning from the 24 scientists. I'm learning from everybody. I'm learning from Imam Mufti Muhammad followers, Sunnis, Christians, gangsters, fruit, solids, Jeremiah. I'm trying to learn it, and I separate the good from the bad. Some of the stuff was crap. You know what I mean? You got to know how to separate the crap and the bull crap. You know what I mean? But a lot of them brothers had some deep, deep literature directly from the 1930s. I'm talking about other branches of the nation. Like when the Master Muhammad left, the messenger had a small little branch of the Nation of Islam. Other branches of the Nation of Islam had lessons, literature, newsletters, all kind of stuff out. You know what I mean? And they was teaching their own thing, but you could see the jewels all in it. You see the connections, like, oh, it makes sense. You know what I mean? It's like a broken up puzzle putting the pieces together. You know what I mean? I ain't got the whole picture together, but I could see that this is something that can fly here. I mean, I can see this is some type of special flying craft. You know what I mean? And the literature that they had, I'm talking about, I remember one brother, up Huntington, he had like this big photo album. I thought he was going to show me some pictures. And when he opened it up, all it was original copies of every Muhammad Speaks newspaper that ever was published in the Nation of Islam. He had every last one. I'm like, yo, forget cable, commissary, visits. I want to make a copy of this. I mean, so I got so much literature. They like trying to make me get rid of my literature. You know what I mean? But it's some beautiful brothers and some brilliant scientists and some deep jewels in the belly of them pieces. Y'all ignoring them brothers in the belly of the beast. In a minute, the people gonna be running up there. Trust me. They will be running up there when it dawn on you. Like, yo, whoa. I remember different ministers. This was like the early 90s. You know what I mean? You had like brother minister Nasir Makir Hakeem. He started dropping raw, beautiful jewels when the message of teachers bring tears to my eyes. Love that, brother. In fact, I advertised one of my books in his publication. He had Elijah Speaks in newspaper and stuff like that. You had Minister Mutaquan, Brother Minister Jeremiah Shabazz, Brother Minister Levi Kareem had that Muhammad Speaks. I wrote articles for Brother Minister Levi Kareem. I wrote the article Masonic Ministers Masquerading as Muslims and the Minister's Dilemma, the money or the message. You know what I mean? Just dropping jewels. You know what I mean? And we even went he covered Salaam Allah. We even went into a Salaam Allah thing back then. You know what I mean? So we used to have fun, but we just out of love and respect. You know what I mean? Brothers disagree. You know what I mean? Like biological brothers and sisters, you're not going to always agree. You're going to fight. You ain't going to try to kill your brother or sister. You ain't going to hate them. You know what I mean? It's like we ain't going to let the sun set before we make up. You know what I mean? You always get on my nerves. I'm your brother. I'm supposed to get on your nerves. You know what I mean? That's all in it. You know what I mean? But the messenger goes on to say inside this Outsiders Arrived that I received from my beloved aunt in the chapter 10, 1974, I want to teach you. He says, and I quote, and you can get Outsiders Arrived. In fact, I'll probably add a link or something in here if you don't have a copy of it so you can download the book. Yesterday, you could not find me. I was so wrapped in the mist that people were trampling on me and they didn't know I was down there in the mud. All praise is due to Allah. Allah is all of us. Let me read that again. Allah is all of us. But we have a supreme one that we can throw this name holy upon. He is Allah. He who Master Muhammad is a man. The supreme Allah is a man. He's not a woman. He's a man. His sister is not Allah. He is Allah. Okay, so make no doubt about that. He is Allah, the one over all of us, the most supreme one, the wisest one, the mightiest one, the one that sees and hears that which we can't see and hear. That is He. He is rooted in all of us. Every righteous person is a God. We are all God. When we say Allah, we mean every righteous person. When we say Allah, we mean every righteous person. When you say Allah, who you talking about? When y'all talking that Allah sky language, I mean, what laws y'all talking about? You know what I mean? When y'all make select and y'all bow down, and in the 1930s, you don't see FOIs and MTs bowing down to no spook god. In the 1940s, they wasn't making select. They knew about select, but as a collective, that wasn't a dominant idea. That wasn't a dominant thought in the universal order of things. In the 1950s, it wasn't. In the 1960s, it wasn't. In the 1970s, when our people left the messenger teachers and got spooked out their mind and start talking about Master Muhammad ain't God in person, now Elijah Muhammad wasn't a messenger of Allah, that's when they start bowing down to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, some spook God. Now, there's no problem. I'm not a Mesa Celeste. I got a woman why the empty why type of rocket smoke. I wrote like a 300-page book on the secret reality of prayer. I know how to do all that. Call it Don, Wudu, Stinger, Gusha, Tayammum, read Arabic, write Arabic, all that stuff. But it don't spook me up. When you study the science of it and understand that the Quran says it's not righteousness if you stand up or bow down to make your prayers or face the east or the west, but it is righteousness that you submit and do the will of Allah. It's nothing spooky in there. We just bring our spookism into it. We always want to spook stuff up. I mean, that's what we do. You know what I mean? Now, let me take and share with y'all an old dissertation here. I don't know if you see this old picture of me. Okay. This was to the student ministers. Understanding As-Salaam Allah. I salute you in our general's 11th order. Happy Messengers Day. That's October 7th, basically. I wanted to clarify the issue before I read this. I don't even think I'm gonna read this whole thing. But before I get into that, let me give you the backstory, if you will. I'm gonna give you the short version. In the belly of the beast, we had one interfaith chapel. The interfaith chapel was like a church type of building where Christians, Jews, Sunni Muslims, FOIs, Moors, what have you, had to come together for their spiritual services. Now, the administration could not accommodate so many different individual faiths or so-called spiritual systems or so-called religions. So what they basically did unofficially, it wasn't something in writing, but unofficially it was like this. The Catholics did their thing. The Jews did their thing. The Protestants, all the Christians, I don't care if you're a Jehovah's Witness, a Baptist, a Methodist, all of them prayed together, worshiped together. Now, when it came to the Muslims, they had it like this. The Sunnis, the Nation of Islam, the Moorish Science Temple of America. Just wanted to pause and give honors to the Holy Prophet Noble Ali, as well as the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. You know what I mean? But we had a unity thing back in the day. Conscious people network with conscious people. It wasn't like the day like everybody want to be the king of the mountain. I mean, it wasn't like that. It's like the Grand Sheik. I'll kill you about him. I love that. That's my brother. I mean, you know, the 5%, the revolutionaries, you know what I mean? See, people that you read about, like I personally got a letter from Assata Shakur from Cuba. I mean, a lot of people don't know Assata Shakur in Pennsylvania in the penitentiary sued the jail because she was a NGT student following Elijah Muhammad, and she wanted to get December Ramadan in the prison, and she won the case. That's how women can Ramadan now in the penitentiary. Just to let you understand all the spooky stuff people put out there. You didn't have to reject a branch of the family, you know what I mean, because you didn't live with them. You know what I mean? I got 3 sisters. I don't live with my sisters. You know what I mean? You know, when I was a young boy, I didn't live with I had an old house next door to our house. That was my crib. You know what I mean? So it's like, it don't take no love away because you have theological differences. You know what I mean? So even though the Moors did not believe like we believe, or we didn't believe like we believe in freedom, justice, and equality. They believed in freedom, justice, you know what I mean? 5%. We all were conscious. We all were striving for righteousness. We was all striving for unity, for freedom, justice, and equality. That's the most simplest way I could put that. I mean, so even the Sunnis, don't think that the Sunnis was our enemy. I was going to Jumar. We had the way we had the chapel. It was interfaith services. So this week they let the Sunni speak. Next week they'll let me speak. Next week they may let the Moor speak, what have you. Then sometimes they had it where you may go to a camp where the Moors had their own service, the Nation of Islam had their own service, the Sunni had their own service, the Shia had their own service, the Jews had their own service, the Catholic. I mean, that's what we prefer. I mean, you prefer to, like, if you're an apple, it's all kind of, if you're a golden apple, you don't want to be on a tree with a Macintosh. I mean, so it's different types of fruit, different types of oranges, different types of lemons. Now, I mean, you can't expect bananas to grow in Pennsylvania. So we understood that science. Now, I mean, and we got in where we fit in. Muslim respects all people, the man respects all people. I mean, and that's how we kept the peace. So that's how we was living for years, actually. I mean, but eventually, the teachings that we were teaching were so dominant. See, keep in mind, we're teaching the black man is God. So when it comes to true part, my crazy behind. I get up there. It's different when you can only break it down in English. See, Josh, Assistant Prime Minister, Joshua Sadiullah, he was an Arabic scholar. He translated his whole Quran, and I mean for the Nation of Islam. Unfortunately, the devil stole it. I mean, they ain't destroyed it, but they took it. I mean, they stole it from him. It was that valuable to the universal order. They stole a lot of my unpublished books. Now they love that literature because you got Masons and Shriners. Now I mean, one day I'm gonna go inside the secret vaults over there and bring out like 10 boxes of stuff and show y'all what level this stuff was on. Now I mean, but to give you just an inkling, when 911 happened, the FBI came to physically see me. When 911 happened, they came to physically see me. This Farrakhan final call, they put on the final call cover, are the Muslims in prison a fifth column because these racist politicians over here is lying and using technology and panicking. I mean, it was real crazy. But I was in the hole for years for teaching Al-Balaj Muhammad teachers. Now when I'm looking at the helicopters, and I'm in Pittsburgh at the time, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, so they physically flying right over Pittsburgh camp. Now I mean, but the FBI, the IRS, the CIA, they on us on that level, and they telling me to my face like, we read all your books. I mean, I'm like, yeah. I mean, but we don't bite our tongue. It's like, listen, man, I'm not a terrorist. I believe the black man, God is the white man is the devil. I told the FBI, listen, you know what I teach. I mean, now, that it is what it is. I mean, but we don't believe in terrorism because the message is that's not the way of the law. I mean, that's not. I mean, it's like I don't mess with old Osama bin Laden and all that. They spooked out their mind to me. I mean, that's like, come on, man. That's not my kind of Islam. My Islam is the black man. We ain't trying to blow up America. We trying to take back the whole universe. We want the whole planet Earth back. I mean, we putting the father civilization back on top. That's what I live for. You know what I mean? So, but we don't do that through hatred, guns, knives, and all that kind of.